Hello, my name's Jan Knodel. I'm the Extension Entomologist for North Dakota State University. I'm going to present some research from Dr. Krupe of Purdue University. His work is on the impact of neonicotinoid seed treatments on honeybees. As you know, honeybees are very important for pollination. Their services are valued at $15 billion per year. Most flowering plants need pollination, and pollinators worldwide have been in decline. Our estimates are 30% of the hives are lost each year. And of course, this has been referred to as colony collapse disorder, and it's been attributed to multiple stressors, varroa mites, nosema, virus infections, and other diseases, and also pesticide exposure. Neonicotinoids are very popular seed treatments. They are used on all corn, about 95 million acres, 60 to 70% usage on soybean, 40 plus million acres, canola, wheat, and cotton. That is equivalent to an estimated 200 million acres per year. The seed treatments are systemic, and they provide protection against a lot of the soil insects. The seed treatments work by being placed on the seed when they're planted. The seed treatment insecticide dissolves off and binds to the soil, and then it's absorbed by the roots of the plant and translocated throughout the plant as it's growing. For corn, clothinidid poucho is the dominant neonicotinoid seed treatment that is used, and the toxicology data shows that is extremely toxic to honeybees. Thiamethoxam cruiser is another popular neonicotinoid seed treatment, and this one is essentially the same chemical because it metabolizes to clothinidid. A single poucho corn kernel contains enough active ingredient to kill tens of thousands of honeybees, but we don't really know what the interrelationships are between these treated seeds and the honeybees. So Dr. Krupe wanted to study this because he was noticing a lot of dead bees at Indiana apiaries that coincided with the local corn planting. So he took it upon his research to analyze these dead bees for traces of neonicotinoid insecticides. And these two neonicotinoid insecticides, clothinidid and thiamethoxam, are the major ones used in corn and soybean. This short video here shows you the death of the bees being killed at corn planting times. You see the bees will start to be disoriented. They'll fall to the ground in the front of the hive. They'll wiggle around and they will fall onto their back and then not be able to get back up on the right side. And these are all symptoms of insecticide poisoning in bees. So I collected some of these dead bees in front of the hives and analyzed them with liquid chromatography and mass spectrometry. And he found all the dead dying bees had traces of the neonicotinoid seed treatments. And he also looked at some of the stored pollen from hives with dead bees outside of them, and they had very high levels of pesticides, and it was much lower in the healthy hives. And ND means not detected. You could see the red circles. Those are fairly high levels where he found clothinidid on the dead bees and also on the bee bread from sick hives. Well, how do these insecticides get from the corn seed that's planted to the honeybee? Well, during planting time, it's very windy, and you have a lot of dust coming from that planter. And we also use a talc to help prevent the treated seed from sticking together, and some of that also gets exposed during planting. So he was going to look at the soil from agriculture fields that is blown around during and after planting, and then actually dandelions, which is a very common weed. It's the first thing that comes up in the spring and a favorite food source, an important early season food source for honeybees. So his questions are, were the neonicotinoids found in the field soils before planting with all that soil being blown around? And is that soil being blown around and with insecticide in it and being found on the dandelions? So he sampled soils from fields with a known history of seed treatment, corn treated seed, and soybean untreated seed. So he collected soils from different areas and also dandelions, removed flowers from the borders, and then the first 1 to 2 meters into the field. Honeybees were foraging at the time he was sampling. Then he also collected dandelions from non-agriculture areas. So he found the neonicotinoid seed treatments in all the soils, even 2 years application. This has implication on the persistence of neonicotinoids in the environment. They're much more persistent than we originally thought. And also he found them on all the dandelions collected from the fields. He didn't find them in the non-agriculture areas. Methoxychlor and atrazine are 2 common herbicides that he also isolated in his samples. For corn planting, we typically use a vacuum system to move the seeds. The seeds are sticky, so we require talc or graphite to ensure that it's moving through the planter and not getting plugged up. And to get rid of that talc, you need to exhaust it during and after planting. So we use this talc to get the seed moving through, and some of it does have to leave the system during planting and after planting. From the John Deere publication on Ready to Plant Guide, Optimizing Planter Performance, says clean the vacuum system per the operator's manual to purge the system of dirt and talc buildup. Dusty plant conditions and heavily treated seeds will require the system to be cleaned more often. So we don't really provide producers with any information on how or where to dispose of the talc, but we're using about 30 ounces of talc per bag of corn seed by 28 million bags planted per year, and that's equivalent to about 5 billion pounds of talc being used to plant corn each year. Here's a picture of some of our modern air planters, and here's a little demonstration to show you the talc being dispensed or purged out of the system. Here's some better side view, and you can see how light that talc is, and the wind easily will disperse that talc to the field and the field edges. So he found extremely high concentrations of the neonicotinoids in the talc from the seed coatings. In fact, very extremely high levels. In fact, the treatment seed 4 in the clothianidin column, which is red highlighted, was equivalent to approximately 700,000 times the LD50. That's a lethal dose that 50% of the honeybee population will die. Extremely high. So the main point here is he found very high levels of neonicotinoids in the talc. And he also wanted to look at corn pollen that are placed near corn fields. So he put in pollen traps in the honeybee hives and then collected the pollens to determine if there was any neonicotinoids in it. And bees really do like corn pollen. They collect about 44.5% of the pollen from corn when it's pollinating, and half of the pollen samples analyzed had neonicotinoids. Yeah, this is important because they use the pollen as a primary protein source for bees. And then also they use this in their hives to store the pollen to feed their young. So we don't really know what the effects of consuming corn pollens with neonicotinoids is on a honeybee hive, but we believe it might have some sublethal effects. So in summary, honeybees living near where treated neonicotinoid seeds are being used, they are exposed to multiple routes of entry into the honeybee. Can be through contact, dust and soil, ingestion through corn and other pollen. Anyway, they're exposed to sublethal effect rates, and it may have some impact on their foragers or even on the long-term health of the hive. And again, this isn't to say that, do not use your seed treatments. We certainly need our seed treatments to protect the seed from various insect pests like wireworms, but just to be aware of some of the other side effects of these seed treatments. Certainly the planters can be modified to have a more closed system, so the talc isn't purged out of the system and into the air. And there's other ways that we could possibly improve the system to prevent some of these contaminations to the honeybee. But anyway, it's good to be aware of this research and being known that EPA is also looking at this. Thank you and have a good day.